Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, what's up? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I post new videos every week. So today we're going to be talking about blood. Ouch. What happens and how to deal with when you cut a client, or what happens when your client comes in and they have a cut. How do we service them? How do we deal with that? That could be a little scary for a new nail tech, sometimes an old nail technician. I mean, sometimes these things just happen. So what is the proper protocol when dealing with blood exposure during a nail service? Do we continue? Do we stop? What do we do? Let's get into all of that right now. So first and foremost, let's talk about what is an exposure incident, as the textbook calls it, or we call it a blood spill. This is when there's any contact with non-intact skin, blood, bodily fluid, or any other potentially infectious materials that results from the performance of an employee's duties, aka you. So again, these things happen during a service. We can cut someone with a nail file if we don't prep it or it's too sharp. You can easily nip someone during a manicure or pedicure by their cuticle or sidewalls. We can nip somebody with a drill when we were e-filing. So these things happen. If you have cut somebody, don't sweat it. Don't freak out. Again, you have to, let's keep professional and just show them like, it's not a big deal. I'm going to deal with it. How do we handle the situation? First thing that we want to do is stop immediately. The minute that you feel yourself nip someone, or the drill rolls over, or you feel like that file was a little too sharp, you want to just stop immediately. Sometimes you can cut someone, but there isn't any actual blood. So we're talking about, I cut to the point where there's blood. So we want to stop immediately when you notice, and you can feel it as a tech, and just take a look. Okay, was it more superficial or is it a deep cut? You start to notice a little bit of redness, a little bit of blood, then we're going to proceed with the following. First, we want to put on gloves to protect ourselves. That's first and foremost. We're dealing with blood, bodily fluid. So you should be putting on 2 gloves or 1 glove if you're going to do it all one-handed. But we just want to make sure that we are protecting ourselves from people. Then we're going to take a little nail antiseptic spray and spray it on the area. So nail antiseptic spray is something that looks like this. It's blue, and we want to spray this on the area. And I always like to just tell my clients, like, okay, it might sting a little bit, just always give them that warning and make them feel better. And they'll be like, oh, you're right, or oh, that wasn't bad. Okay, great. Then we're going to proceed. Then after we do that, we're going to apply septic solution to the area. So if you've ever been in a nail salon and ever been cut, unfortunately, you've seen them put this liquid solution on a cut. It does burn. And it's usually in a little bottle. It's usually blue or green. I haven't seen any other colors to really say. I don't have any right now on hand to show you, so I will find a Google image and I'll try to place it right here in the video for you. But this solution is basically what we use in the nail salon when a cut happens, and it will temporarily, superficially kind of close that cut so that we can keep working and the blood will stop. So we want to really do that because this is a way that no bacteria is going to get into the cut if we choose to continue. If it's a tiny little nip on her sidewall or a little bit of something from the e-file, we can apply the solution. Again, it'll stop it bleeding. The dust and particles and stuff will not get into the cut, and we can continue. I will leave a link in the description box below to Amazon if you want to pick this up. This is definitely something that if you have cut someone, if you cut someone maybe once a month, you should keep this on hand. Let's put it like that, minimum. Luckily, I'm not a cutter. I don't do blood. That's not my thing. I don't really cut people. That's why I don't really have any on hand. I used to have it when I was teaching, but I have no idea where that's at. So we want to apply that, and you should definitely always have that at your nail table. However, if it is bleeding a lot, because if you apply the solution, wait a couple seconds and you still see it kind of bleeding, that means it's a little deep and we need to wait, and we need to kind of take a cotton, apply a little bit of pressure onto the area, get it to stop bleeding before we apply the septic solution. If that's still not working and you did all of that and it's still bleeding, we need to apply a bandage. And unfortunately, I would not continue on that finger, that toe, that area. If you can work around it, depending on at the point of the service that you're at. But for the most part, you kind of have to apologize. Like, I cut you really deep. I don't think we should continue on this finger, or I don't want to polish because the gel will drip into it going underneath the UV light. We don't want any bacteria to get into that room, because guess what? If she gets infected, it is your fault. So we want to make sure that we are protecting ourselves always. So after you have stopped the bleeding and everything, we want to discard all contaminated objects. So we want to put this to the side on our table so that it can be cleaned and disinfected later. Or if you want to keep a baggie or a Ziploc bag or a container, just like we do for skateboards, you can do that in your drawer and just put it to the side and deal with it later. That includes your bit, that includes the file, the nipper, whatever was the instrument that you used that cut this person, we want to put that to the side. Or if you cut them, let's say I cut them when I was filing, I didn't notice it, and then I started buffing. Okay, so now my buffer might be contaminated as well. You see where I'm going? So we want to just make sure that we are putting everything to the side to either discard it if it cannot be cleaned and disinfected. Afterwards, we want to make sure that we clean our workstation. This is hopefully you won't cut somebody to the point where blood is spewing everywhere on your nail table. Let's hope that it doesn't get that deep. But we want to just make sure we're cleaning our area. If blood dripped onto the table, your towel, we want to make sure we get rid of that on our table. Place a new towel down. Make sure they're okay. If anything ran, if it was a real blood, we want to wipe that off. We want to just make sure we clean, and some Lysol wipes or something to kind of just wipe down the area, replace the towels, and so on and so forth. Then we will remove our gloves the right way. We all know we remove our gloves from the outer side. We don't ever touch the outside. And we want to just discard any type of bandages, wrappers, all that stuff should go into one little pile, and it should be tossed into the trash can. And again, if everything went okay and the bandage is on, we can't continue on that finger depending on where the bandage is at. This is another reason, side note, keep bandages at your station as well, just in case. And if the septic solution worked, then we can just continue after that. So what do you do when your client comes in with a cut? So you'll see this can happen very easily if you are in a nail salon. You know, people will come in and they know they're cut and they'll try to get their nails done. So just know that you can service someone if the wound is not actively bleeding and it seems to be closed. So the first thing we want to do is ask them like, oh, I see you have a cut. What happened? Tell me what happened. I slammed my finger in a car door. I cut myself while I was cooking. Okay, second question. When did this happen? So they say, oh, this happened this morning. Or this happened yesterday, this happened last week, it's still healing. You should be able to tell at the level of the cut and what it looks like, kind of when it happened, if it's fresh or if it's a little bit older, that would be up to your discretion. But the thing is, I would not service anybody that says something happened that same day or within 24 hours. If it looks like it's still open, if it's still kind of bright red, it's still tender for her, just okay, you can do the nails, just don't go near that area. Honestly, it's not worth it, guys, because what could happen is, again, this person, you do a set on them, some type of monomer. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of liquid and a lot of chemicals. They will get into the wound and they will get infected eventually. It might not happen that day, and they're going to say, oh, I want to get my nails done, and I got a fungus, I got infected. It's the nail tech, it's the salon. They will try to blame you, and it's not worth it. It's not worth that one set, that one fill, that one pedicure, or whatever they're trying to get done to service them and then have it kind of backlash on you. So again, just remember to ask these questions and be sure, don't just take their word for it, because people are slick and they want to just get their nails done. They don't care. They'll say, oh, it happened the other week, but why does it still hurt? You know? So ask these questions and just kind of use your discretion to decide, is this worth it? Or I don't feel like doing this. You can tell the owner, you know, they have a cut on their finger, she has a nip on her foot. I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to do this. I don't think we should service her. Your boss can't get mad at you for wanting to protect yourself. If they do, then you need to reevaluate the salon that you're at. And also remember that if they're coming in and they're showing any signs of inflammation, pus, swelling, deeply broken skin, anything that is like super noticeable, that it's like a cut or it's infected, do not service them immediately. Forget everything I just said. We're not asking any questions. I'm saying, ma'am, you have an infected cut on this finger. So what we're going to do is we're going to do those 9 fingers and you're going to walk out with a bandage on one, or you can wait for it to heal and come back to me and we can do all 10 fingers. That's your call, but do not touch that finger or fingers or toes or whatever the case may be if you see any of those very noticeable signs. So some tips that I have for you to avoid cutting your client. Again, if you are a new nail technician or you're practicing, it happens to everybody. You're going to end up cutting someone. So we would just want to be a little bit careful. So some tips that I have for you is just make sure that you're pre-working your files. If you don't know what I mean, when I say you get a new file and you just want to make sure you kind of take an old file against the new file and get the edges. That's called etching your nail file. So we want to make sure that we are never taking a file straight out the drawer and using somebody. That is like a paper cut immediately with a fresh new file. So we want to make sure that we are prepping all of our nail files. Sometimes our buffers, that sharp corner on the buffer, sometimes I'll just take another buffer and rub it against it. That can be sharp as well. However, you should not be using that towards the cuticle edge. You should be using the soft side with your buffer block. But we want to make sure that nothing is sharp and fresh and new when we are doing someone's service. Also, when you get a new nail bit, you should be pre-working your nail bits. I know that sounds a little weird, but anytime I get a new file, especially a carbon file, they tend to be very sharp. You know, these e-files, they go very, very fast. It doesn't matter how slow your speed is, what machine you're using. These bits, are very sharp. So what I'll do is if I have a new bit, I'll do it on myself. I'll do a couple sets of nails on myself before I start to use it on someone. I'm going to work it in that way. You can also take a nail file and kind of go along the edges of your file and kind of work it that way. But I do find kind of working it, actually using it, is more beneficial than taking a file and going against it. So again, use it on yourself, because if you're going to cut someone, you should cut yourself. Or working on your mannequin hand, just work that bit in a little bit before you take it out and start using it on your customers. If you are a new nail tech, you should be using safety bits for this reason. Again, because those bits can be very, very sharp. So if you are in the beginning stages, you should be using cuticle safety bits to avoid cutting. Or if you think that you've advanced and you start cutting people all the time, you're not ready, and go back to the cuticle safety bit in the meantime. If you guys have any other questions on how to handle any type of blood exposure incident, or if you have any other questions, comments, suggestions, please leave them in the description box below. Do not forget to like and subscribe to this video. Give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye.